Yo everyone, and welcome back to my channel. So the review that you guys have all been waiting for, brand new product for 2019, is the Fenty Pro Filt'r concealer and setting powder that were released on, I think, the 11th. Today is the 13th. So I literally picked them up on launch day, wore them all on the 12th as well as the 11th because I tested out in store, and now I'm going to be doing my review for you guys. So just an FYI, this may be a slightly longer video than normal review videos, so if you don't like longer videos, just bye. But I like to explain things in detail, so because I know that quite a lot of people tend to order things online, and I want to make it as helpful as possible to many of you out there. So altogether, Fenty released in 2017, I think it was, 40 shades of foundation, which was not a new thing because Makeup Forever had already done that, but it was like a massive thing that she's one of the first brands to do something like that, which is great that so many people out there, from the deepest of the deep to the fairest of the fair, who are always left out of general foundation ranges, were able to finally find a match for their skin tone. Unfortunately, I am not one of those 40 people. I'm not salty about it because at the end of the day, there is never always a perfect shade for everybody, no matter how large a shade range is. Now, since then, as part of this new launch, Fenty has also released an additional 10 shades, bringing it up to 50 foundation shades to coincide with the 50 concealer shades that have also been released. Is there a new shade for me to use in there? No. Now, if you guys remember my review video that I did, I showed you guys the shades 300, 310 and 330. 330 I went on to subsequently sell to one of you guys because you knew from seeing it on my face it was just much too dark for me. So the two shades that I generally tend to use are 300 and 310. Now 310 is a little bit too warm for me, and 300 is a little bit more neutral for me, and they're both a tiny bit dark for my skin tone. The next shade, 290, is too peach, so I then went and bought 280, which is now too fair for me. So I own 3, which is slightly annoying. However, depending on what time of year it is, I will then wear as appropriate. I tend to mix 280 with 310 because the slight warmthness of this one mixes with this, and then it creates my perfect shade. Now, one thing I do have to mention to you guys, as much as what you may have seen or heard online, a lot of people haven't actually had the chance to go in store and test them. They're just going by what information either Fenty has given them or what they have heard on the grapevine, on the makeup grapevine. I picked up the shade 310 in the concealer because I went in store to Harvey Nichols and I went to the counter because I knew that each foundation shade had a corresponding concealer shade, but it wasn't an exact match. It was meant to be for brightening under the eyes. Most people tend to use concealer for brightening under the eyes and to conceal and highlight the high points of their face. Most people don't really tend to use it on their face to cover up spots and stuff because foundations these days are so good. You can just get a full coverage one and it does it all for you. So I'm really glad that I actually did try it in store, because if I'd done it online, I would have ordered the shade 300. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm just going to insert a picture here. If you don't follow me on Snapchat, please do, because then you guys can see when I'm actually in store and you can see how things look before I get a chance to do a proper review. Now, I showed the shade 300 as well as 310 concealer. If you guys look closely enough, you can see that 300 is very pale, too pale, and it's got the wrong undertone as well. 310 is also incredibly pale in comparison to 310 foundation. However, the undertone is a lot better and it works really nicely with my skin tone. So that's the reason why I picked up 310. I am going to swatch all of these foundations on my face in a moment for you guys, and then I'm going to apply 310 just so that you guys can see how they all sit together. The thing is, the 310 foundation is very different to the concealer. Now, it's not even a little bit brightening. I would not pair these two together at all, generally speaking, if you were to call it a corresponding concealer. You can see the very big difference in warmth compared to the concealer. This is very yellow, whereas this is almost neutrally yellow. And then when applying it to my under eyes, it's actually a lot lighter than normal concealer brightening shades that I would tend to use under my eyes. So I would personally suggest that if you are able to get in store, please try them out. Just because you are in the shade 240 in the foundation does not mean that 240 will work as a brightening shade under your eyes. You may need something like 310. So it's very confusing. So I just wanted to throw that out there. Another thing that was released was some Pro Filt'r instant setting powders. So I picked up two of them. I picked up the shade Banana and I picked up the shade Honey. These are really big to look at. Look, aesthetically they will look beautiful on your makeup counter. However, the size is deceiving. These are very thick. The plastic or glass or whatever it's made out of is very, very thick, and it makes it look like you've got a lot more product than you actually have. So what I'm going to do is just a quick comparison. So this Pro Filt'r Instant Retouch Setting Powder is 28 grams. The standard classic Laura Mercier Translucent Setting Powder is 29 grams. The Huda Beauty Easy Bake Loose Setting Powder is 20 grams. This teeny tiny one that you guys know that I absolutely love from the drugstore from Makeup Revolution, the luxury powder in Banana, contains a whopping 42 grams. Now altogether the powder came in 10 different shades. They've given also, I'm just looking on Instagram by the way, they've also given corresponding shades for your foundation again, which I don't find particularly helpful unless you're in store. Now Banana, it says goes with brightening shades for 200 to 290. Well, I'm what, 295? That don't exist. So there's that. And then I picked up Honey, which says is brightening for shades 300 to 390. So technically, both of them should kind of work for me, right? Right? Yeah, wrong. Let me just say that in between Banana and Honey, there is a shade called Cashew, which it says for shades 200 to 290. That had too much of a pink tone to it, so it would not have worked for me, even though it is the in-between shade. Now, one thing I do have to say about Banana is, it's not as a banana-y as other banana shades, if that makes sense. So in terms of the color, it's kind of on the palish sort of side, and I do think that women who've got much deeper skin tone than I have will struggle to use something like this under their eyes, because even for somebody like me who is medium skin tone, I still find it has a slight ashy tinge to it. Now, yes, you can use it for baking under your eyes and whatnot, but that's just something that I thought that I would mention. They also have a slight tint of color to them as well. Now, Honey, I used to set the foundation on my face, and it's an almost exact match, but a tiny bit dark for me. So what I actually found was that despite the fact, firstly, I'm already wearing a foundation that is a tiny bit dark, this just added to the darkness. And even though it is a powder which you only need to use a very slight amount of to set your face, it still kind of added a bit more color than I would have been happy with. It's actually quite a thick powder. I don't find it to be very finely milled at all. I find it to be quite chunky, and I also found that it did not control shine whatsoever. I found that despite the fact that I was wearing a mattifying primer, then I was wearing this foundation on top, I applied this and I was still getting shinier a lot sooner than I normally do when I use my Too Faced Peach Perfect mattifying powder, which you guys know that I absolutely love. I actually found that it made my foundation look like caked on. I could kind of see it sitting on my face, and it did not make me look naturally flawless like I like to look or do look with other powders. Now, going back to the concealer quickly, this is the box that it comes in, the standard classic black Fenty box, and what it says on here, by the way, is 8ml. In comparison to other concealers that I've got, the MAC Studio Fix one is 7ml. The Born This Way concealer by Too Faced obviously is huge and carries a good 15ml in there. Tarte Shape Tape, 10ml. The Nabla Cosmetics one is 4ml. Wow, I didn't realise it was that small. See, when I say size, it's deceiving. And then the Huda Beauty Faux Filter one is 10ml. And the concealer itself costs £19, so it kind of sits within that whole range of what I've just shown you as well. So it's almost like a standard size. It's got the classic kind of frosted glass that we like with this, and it comes with a nice flat and easy to bend doe foot applicator. It's got a smell of like glue. Reminds me of glue, but it's not overpowering or in your face or anything like that. Now please let me just read to you what their claims are before I give you my opinion. It says it's a creamy long wear crease proof liquid concealer with light as air, medium to full coverage that brightens under the eyes, conceals blemishes and redness. That's just a quick off online. On the actual box itself, it says instant photo soft coverage for all, long wear, light as air, crease proof. Now, what have I said to you guys before? When a brand says things like crease proof or non-transferable, and they specifically mention that it doesn't live up to that claim, I downgrade it by 1 point. As soon as this said crease proof, I was like, okay, put it on yesterday, and I timed it. It creased, it left 2 big fat lines under my eyes after 5 minutes. So that's already 1 point down. Now on Fenty's website, it is described as full coverage. It says the full coverage cure to living life to the fullest. This is not full coverage. It says medium to full coverage above that, and then it says full coverage. So Fenty, you can't even get your own marketing correct. It's medium to full coverage. It's definitely not full coverage. It is creamy, light as air, soft, matte. Yep, it is. And it easily builds to full coverage. So that makes more sense than calling it full coverage. It builds to full coverage. Instantly brightens under the eyes, concealing blemishes and dark spots and reducing redness. So yes, I agree to all of those things. It is very creamy and it is buildable. But at the end of the day, I don't want to build up my concealer. I want me to be able to put it on straight away, blend it in, voila, it's all done. Because building something up means you're having to reuse this more than once, and therefore you will finish this a lot more quickly. See, again, it says without creasing or settling into fine lines or pores. Yes, it does. This has to be set. If you don't want any creasing to happen, you have to set it. Now, I would say that this is not going to be one of my holy grail concealers by a long shot. The ones that I've just shown you are all my favorite concealers. I only have to use a little bit to get complete full coverage. This one is going to be one of my everyday kind of concealers, but definitely not one that I'm going to repurchase. It blends nicely under the eyes. However, especially in terms of the shade as well, and once I've set it, it does feel quite dry under the eyes once I have used this. It doesn't crease once I have actually set it, but you have to work with it quite quickly. Literally, like I said, I blended it in and after 5 minutes it had creased. So anyway, so those are my little reviews about this. I would personally give this concealer probably an 7 to 8 out of 10. I think it's okay. I don't think it's a must-have. I don't think it's the best on the market. I don't think it's anything special or anything like that. I think it's okay. The powder also I don't see as a must-have. I don't see myself repurchasing this either. I just feel that it's a little bit too heavy. It feels drying, slightly drying under the eyes especially, and I also think that the color range is a little bit because to be honest, none of these will really work that well with me. I have to make them work for myself, and I don't want to have to do that. If you've released something like 10 shades, there has to at least be something for everybody, because powders are not the same as concealers. They don't have to match you completely, but I do feel that it kind of accentuates pores on my skin. As much as I love the foundation, which by the way, I absolutely love the foundation, I do not love the rest of the complexion products in comparison. Like I said before, I think that people jump on the Fenty bandwagon a little bit too much just because it's a brand that was created to help so many people of color. All right, what I'm going to do first is I'm going to apply all 3 of these foundations just side by side so you can see them on my face, and then I'm going to apply the concealer next to it, just so that you can see how much different it is compared to the rest of them. All right, we're going to start off with 280. Next is 300. Followed by 310. All right, so now we're going to use the concealer. Remember, this is 310 and this is 310. Look at that. That is a very vast difference in color as well as undertone as well. This is very warm, got a lot of yellow in it. This one is almost neutral in terms of how it appears on my face. Can you see that this color is slightly pinkish, a little bit off? This is why I tend to use 300 a little bit more. It's not as warm, it's got a little bit more olive, but then that tends to work better for my skin tone. So what I'm going to do today is I'm going to apply 300 to my face, and then I'm going to use 310 as the concealer. Alright, so I've wiped that all off, and I'm going to first off prime my face using the Revolution Mattify Matte and Fix Primer before I apply the foundation. Alright, I'm going to very quickly apply my foundation because you guys aren't here for that. You've already seen that video. The brush I will be using is this buffing brush from Real Techniques. And like I said, I'm going to be applying the shade 300 to my face before the concealer. Okay, so now that that is done and I am happy with that, I am now going to apply the concealer to my face, and then I'm going to set it with the banana powder, and I'll set my face with the honey powder. Now the one thing I have to say about this, first off, let me just show it to you up close because I haven't actually done that yet, I just realised. So it comes in a container like this, which is just a nice little screw top, and then whoa, you can see all the powder inside, and it's got those little dots things, whatever they're called, inside in the shape FB, which I can't show you because it will all fall out. And then I am going to dot it all underneath my eyes, as I always do, along with the high points of my face, my chin, my top lip, my nose, my forehead, before I blend it out with a beauty blender, a damp beauty blender. I'll be using one from Real Techniques. Now it is a very lovely creamy concealer, so it's nice and easy to blend out. So there shouldn't be any of you that have any kind of issues with blending it or anything like that. It will blend seamlessly into your foundation, and then just make sure to pat it in so that it blends into your foundation without leaving any kind of stark lines. And then with the powder, remember my 5-second rule. Apply a generous amount to your under eye area. Leave it for 5 seconds so that it kind of sort of bakes but doesn't bake, and then brush it off, and that will make sure there is no creasing or moving of your concealer throughout the day. Alright, so now your face should look something like this. I'm not sure if you could tell, but the banana shade itself is quite pale as well, especially in comparison to other banana shades. There's not as much yellow in it as other banana shades have. If anything, it's a little bit more on the ivory sort of side. And I'm not sure how much you could tell when I was removing it. The powder really does stick to anything liquidy underneath, which can make it a little bit more difficult to remove. Whereas with other shades underneath the eyes, I can just go like this and it comes off. It literally brushes off. Over here, it kind of sticks, which isn't such a good thing, because then what happens is it can bunch up within the liquid product, making it a lot more difficult and long-winded, like it's now, like how you're seeing me do this, making sure that it's actually come off properly. So that's another minus for the powder. And can you also see how different the concealer shade is in comparison to my foundation shade? I really had to go in and blend with the foundation brush between the concealer and the foundation. And bear in mind that the shade I'm using on my face is 300, not 310 like the shade of the concealer. So this is significantly lighter than the 300 colors. So now I just need to set my face, and I'm going to use the shade which is Honey. This is also Rihanna's shade, FYI. So obviously I'm not the same shade as Rihanna, but I'm just letting you guys know for reference. And I'm just going to very, very, very lightly dust it over my face using this Sigma E50 Duo Fiber brush. What I generally tend to find as well is, because quite a lot of product sits in the lid, it's almost better if I get it from there, because I can control the amount that I'm putting on my face as well. Because sometimes when it comes to something which is fairly chunky and quite a lot of it, too much can come off on your brush. You end up tapping it off, and then can you imagine how much you tap off onto the floor and then waste? So you only need to go in a little bit and kind of press it into the lid, tap it off, and then swoosh it onto your face. Okay, so that's it in terms of all the complexion products that I wanted to show you guys. I am going to do my contour in a minute, and then I'm going to show you how I cut and clean up my contour with this powder as well, because I haven't finished off the rest of my makeup. I also got concealer on my eyeliner, so I need to put that back on, because most of us, you know, don't do it in this order, but it's just for the purposes of the video. But as you can see, I put on a very, very soft amount. It actually turned my completely clean brush a nice hint of brown. Now it feels very, very soft to the touch. I feel a slight tackiness from the foundation, but I can't overload it with the powder with either banana or honey, because one will make me look too brown and one will make me look too white. I can't win. Okay, so now I'm going to tidy up my contour using the banana powder and this Morphe brush, which I can't remember the name. I'll link it below. I think it's the 459 contour brush. And just so that you guys can see how you can tidy up your contour using this as well. Again, like I've mentioned previously, as much as it is quite a pigmented shade, I still find it quite difficult even to brush it off, and it leaves a very harsh line on my face even when I'm cutting or cleaning up my contour, and then I have to go back in with a brush to kind of soften it, which I don't really find that happens with other products of mine. So now you should look like this, and I don't tend to bake or anything like that. I literally brush it off. Can you see how thick those lines are though? Now, because this powder isn't as finely milled as other ones, that's why I tend to find that it takes a lot longer for it to come off. Okay, do you see what I mean? Look at that. I can still see the white there. Like, why are you still there? And even around my nose, it's literally just sticks. And my face is soft. There's no sweat on it, no tackiness. It should really blend off quickly, but it doesn't. Now, I know, look, there are going to be those of you out there that go, well, use less. Well, that's not the point. Now I just have to use this same brush to kind of just smooth out those contour lines and get rid of some of that pale shade. Alright, I'm just going to finish off the rest of my face, and then I will come back and finish off the review for you guys. Okay, I'm back everyone. Hair straightened, rest of the makeup is done. For reference, I whacked a load of Fenty on my face, so uncuffed. And I also picked this up when I bought these things, the foundation, I mean the concealer and stuff, the Fussy lip balm, lip luminizer, whatever it's called. Really pretty, kind of tinted pink. So yeah, so now I've had this all on my face for at least about half an hour, because like I said, I went off, finished off the rest of my face, straightened my hair and whatnot. And I think I look nice. I haven't got a problem with how I look per se, but I do have to say that the powder under my eyes along with the concealer has already started to feel kind of crepey and a little bit creasy. I can see a slight crease that has appeared already. I've had it on all together for an hour. I mean, that's ridiculous really. I really just don't think that either of these products are on par with all the other ones on the market at the moment. I mean, for something especially that has been marketed on the box as creaseless and then to crease, it's unforgivable. Because it would be better if anything they hadn't written that down, because then I wouldn't pick on that one so much, but they have done. And then also the same with the powder. This is the box that it comes in, a very big box, and it just says on the back, light as air setting, photo soft finish for all. And apparently also it doesn't have any flashback. Unfortunately, I can't confirm because I've not actually tried to take any flash photography. I don't have any under eye lines. I don't have any fine lines. I don't have any premature aging yet. However, I do feel that wearing this powder under my eyes makes me look a little bit more aged than I should. I don't need that, especially at my age. I'm in my mid-30s. I don't need to be looking any older than I actually am. I don't need to be looking old, you know. I'm at that age where I'm quite happy that I have retained my youth so far. If I was to wake up tomorrow with a fine line going from here to here, I'd be like, you know what, I made it to this age at least. You know, so I don't need any kind of makeup that is then going to make me look older than I actually am. I do feel that under the eyes, it definitely does work like that. Now, obviously, there are going to be people that say, well, use less powder. Well, why should I? I should be able to use as much powder as I want without having to look crepey and a bit cakey. I mean, on the face, I think that the honey has like gone with my skin tone really nicely. It hasn't changed the color of my foundation head. It hasn't made me look darker because I put on a very little amount. So that's just something for you to bear in mind if you are around my skin tone and you are looking for something to wear on the face, because I personally tend to have a separate powder for my under eyes as well as for my face, and I know that a lot of other people are like that as well. We prefer something brightening under the eyes, but I definitely don't think that these get full marks from me. I think they're okay, but I just don't think that they are the best out there. So unfortunately, this isn't 100% positive review. I'm sure some of you will have seen so many reviews that are shouting from the gods that this is an amazing, innovative product, and Fenty have done it again. Well, no, I don't really think that they have, to be honest. But again, that's just my humble opinion. And that's it. So I hope you guys enjoyed the video. Like, comment, make sure you subscribe. Let me know what your thoughts are. Have you actually bought any of these yet, or are you in the process of buying them? That's the reason why I wanted to do this video so quickly, so that for those of you out there that are looking for a different and impartial opinion, you can make your own judgment based on this video as well as other ones out there that you may have seen who received this as PR. Just thought I'd throw that in there. Anyway, I'll see you all in the next video. Bye.